On the 21st of October 2021, the FATF President Marcus Blair announced
Pakistan remains on our increased monitoring list, the so-called grey list.
So what is FATF and why are they so fond of making lists in different colors? And why is grey such a bad color? On the 14th of July 1989, in the 15th G7 summit, it was decided to create a task force to counter money laundering. Wait. What is the G7 summit? The G7 is simply an intergovernmental political forum which was started in 1975 and consists of the 7 most advanced economies of the world. These countries include Canada, US, UK, Italy, Germany, France, and Japan. Basically, just a bunch of white guys. And Japan. The FATF initially was established as a watchdog to counter the threat of money laundering, and it had a set of 40 recommendations for countries to comply to. In 2001, after the 9/11, the FATF felt the need to add 8 additional points to counter terror financing. It was in 2012 that the FATF came up with a comprehensive set of 40 recommendations that incorporated all the previous recommendations on anti-money laundering and counter terror financing. Thrice every year, the FATF holds a plenary, which is just a fancy way of saying meeting. In this plenary, the FATF discusses the matters of global concern and reviews different countries. 39 different jurisdictions are part of these plenaries as members, and a host of organizations are in there as observers. There are 3 basic categories in which the FATF places countries upon evaluation. Number 1. High-risk jurisdictions, often referred to as the blacklist. Countries that are majorly non-compliant to the 40 recommendations of the FATF and refuse or fail to cooperate on these fronts. Currently, North Korea and Iran are the only 2 countries on this list. Number 2. Jurisdictions under increased monitoring, often referred to as the grey list. Countries that have strategic deficiencies in their compliance to the FATF recommendations. The FATF then regularly evaluates these countries until they are either let off the hook or placed on the blacklist. Number 3. The rest of the countries, or simply the white list. And this is not the first time that Pakistan has been placed on the FATF grey list. Pakistan was also placed on the grey list in 2012 up until 2015. In June 2018, Pakistan was once again placed on the FATF grey list subject to deficiencies in its anti-money laundering and terror financing laws, and has not been taken off the list as of October 2021. So what are the consequences our country faces by being on the grey list? Organizations like the World Bank, the IMF, and the Asian Development Bank are part of the FATF plenaries as observers, meaning that they take into account its position on a certain country before they grant that country any finance. Pakistan, being a weak economy, has very regularly felt the need to get IMF bailouts and World Bank loans, not to mention the great amount of aid that we receive from other such organizations.
On the grey list means that whenever any country or any company or any institution wants to do business with Pakistan, they have to apply additional checks and measures. They have to apply what the banking term is enhanced due diligence measures, which is a lot of paperwork, a lot of bureaucratic hurdles. And if you are an investor and you want to invest money, that is going to put you off.
Apart from that, a country that is deemed as dangerous to invest into attracts far lesser foreign direct investments, FDIs, and is almost on the hit list of financial trouble. According to a study by Dr. Nafi Sardar, Pakistan has lost up to $38 billion in potential GDP since its first placement on the grey list. The FATF gave Pakistan a 27-point action plan to get out of the grey list and to be compliant to the FATF recommendations. In February 2019, Asia Pacific Group, an associate of the FATF, published a mutual evaluations report. This report gave Pakistan an additional 7-point action plan. Since then, Pakistan has made huge amounts of changes in its law and order to counter money laundering and terror financing. Pakistan claims that it has largely addressed 26 out of the 27-point action plan. Moreover, Pakistan was also found compliant to 4 out of the 7 additional points in the action plan. During this time, Pakistan has made amendments to around 15 laws and around 30 regulations have been passed to increase implementation. Pakistan has shown great commitment to change its status on the FATF grey list, and the threat of being blacklisted as of now is almost negligible.
जिसका 27 निकाती एक्शन प्लान, जो दुनिया का सबसे मुश्किल एक्शन प्लान था, हमने बड़े कम अरसे में उसके ऊपर प्रोग्रेस की और आज 26 निकात उसके मुकम्मल हैं। और फैटफ के प्लेटफॉर्म पे अक्सरियत मुल्क समझते हैं कि हम 27वां भी मुकम्मल कर चुके हैं, लेकिन कंसेंसस का रूल ये है कि तकरीबन यूनानिमस ओपिनियन होना चाहिए, तकरीबन थोड़ा बहुत डिसेंट हो सकता है। तो वी आर नाउ वेरी क्लोज to getting off the grey list.
However, Pakistan is still being retained on the grey list.
In the statistics presented by FATF last month, there are 10 countries who are fulfilling 35 fully compliant or partially compliant to 35 recommendations out of 40 recommendations of FATF action plans. And Pakistan is one of them. And Pakistan is in the grey list.
This recent decision has been met by a lot of suspicion by the Pakistani media and public. With so much efforts, Pakistan is still not off that list. A lot of people have started questioning the very integrity of FATF, and a few have even started to label it as politically motivated, allegedly an organization that bends poorer countries into the obedience of richer countries. Is that true? Unfortunately, the answer to that question is not as simple. The FATF is a technical body that has protocols and assessments in place, where some threats pertaining to terrorism are taken much more seriously than others. It has its own rules and regulations and a transparent and democratic process that results in its decisions.
What the FATF really needs is for us to complete all the action points before we can get off the grey list. So there is no threshold here that if you complete 80% of the action plan, you can get off the grey list. There's no such threshold. What they're asking of us is get everything done.
Besides, we cannot shy away from the fact that Pakistan had and probably still has a money laundering problem. We have had political leaders and celebrities involved in money laundering scandals. And these people might just be the tip of the iceberg. Unlucky people who got caught while fleeing the country or got named in leaked papers. Pakistan is no alien to the atrocities of terrorism as well. After losing around $150 billion and countless lives in the war on terror, I think it was high time that Pakistan addressed the financial root of this problem. If you look at it this way, we can almost say that the FATF grey listing proved to be a blessing for Pakistan. It forced Pakistan to make urgent changes to its system that would have otherwise taken ages to change. But is FATF biased? Someone much wiser than me once said, "Money is power." We live in a political world, and to look for absolute fairness in this world is close to impossible. The rich enjoy the liberty of having things their way as much as they can. The case with nation states is not very different. In the FATF, for example, out of the 39 member states, any state has the room to diplomatically push their agendas, and sometimes these agendas can be in opposition to the likes of other countries. As long as you are not a member, you don't have a say in it. This is exactly how modern international diplomacy works, how other global bodies work. Why do 5 countries have the veto power in the UN Security Council while the others don't? Why did the G7 get to convene a global watchdog like FATF while the others did not? In the modern world, as long as a country is not up to speed with the economic pace of the world, their say in the matters of global interest will always be irrelevant. Hey guys, hope you liked the video. If you want to know more about how economics impacts the power dynamics of the world, you can watch our explainer on geoeconomics. Thank you.